I am back with Mimi Nicklin, a well-known empathetic leader, and today we're talking about empathy and its relationship to technology. Mimi, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me again.
No, thank you. So I really wanted to talk about empathy and technology, in part because, we'll come to this at the end, the legal industry is being driven a lot by technological innovation. So, and also we are living in an increasingly kind of technology-driven world as well. And it could be said that technology is destroying empathy in the sense that it is causing a decline in real human connection. Although it's connecting us digitally, like real human connection is declining. What's your view on that statement?
Yeah, look, I think that there's truth in both sides of that argument. For sure, when you look at the declining empathy levels around the world, they are aligned with the increase in technology. So particularly social media from a technological engagement point of view. So as the use of social media has gone up, we have seen empathy levels decline. We've also seen narcissism increase. So there's certainly connectivity between the data sets, that the more connected we are to tech, the less we're connecting as human beings. And of course, that is happening through screens, through the fact that we're never without our phones. Probably as we talk today, there's phones nearby everywhere. As soon as we finish, everyone's checking in. But on the other side of things, technology also enables us to connect. So if you think of the recent COVID-19 months that we've all been through, if it weren't for technology, we wouldn't have been able to connect nearly as deeply as many of us have, especially when it comes perhaps to connecting with family members, elderly family members who are perhaps isolated. Without that screen, without the tech, you couldn't empathize at all. So I think it's a double-edged question, and whilst there is an impact of tech on that real-world connectivity, there is also an enabling side of technology that's allowing us at times to improve and increase empathy where we otherwise couldn't.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually talking about the enabling side of technology, there's been a discussion about the ability of technology to almost emulate empathy. For example, artificial intelligence creating like artificial empathy, or virtual reality cultivating empathy through embodiment. Do you think these emerging technologies are possible solutions to the empathy deficit?
I think they're part of the solve, for sure. There was actually work done by Stanford University in the US where they created a VR program around homelessness. And what they did was they got people to wear VR headsets to experience homelessness.
I think I heard about that.
Yeah, rather than actually just read about it. And they did a study to look at the difference between the people that had the VR experience, the virtual reality experience of being homeless, where, for example, they had to, there was a scene where they had to look around their apartment and look at what they could sell to try and keep their home. There's a scene where they experience what it's like to sleep in a bus shelter and protect their items, of their personal items, versus the people that read about it. And what they found with that was that there's certainly an instant uplift in empathy. When they did polls after that work, around about 80% of people positively reacted to the poll to say that they wanted to help in the homeless space, versus the benchmark, which was around 62%. So you're seeing a 20% increase, at least 20% increase in instant empathy levels going up. What they're now working on is whether that is sustainable over time. But from a verbatim point of view, the researchers in that study, I love this, the researchers got phone calls from people months later who had then taken actions to help the homeless, whether that was in their own town or community. I read about one participant who wrote to the researcher with photos of someone that they had managed to help rehome off the streets back into a community. So there is a lot of evidence mounting that yes, virtual reality, perhaps data that's pulled together by AI, can help us improve those empathy levels in a very practical way. What remains to be seen is how we can make that sustainable as we roll out these technologies over time. And for me personally, I think the important thing, you mentioned at the beginning, is that we don't put that in place of real world connectivity, because as human beings we are social animals, right? We thrive in tribes, literally, even today. So there's got to be a balance between the two.
So just ending on that kind of note then that you just said there, what can human beings do to reimagine perhaps the way they use technology and integrate it into their daily lives to foster more human connection?
I think it's a great question because, again, post-COVID now, we're looking at going back to offices, whether that's in the next few months or perhaps into 2021. The use of tech, the use of the screen to connect with each other, it was high before, now it's daily, right? Now it is just part of our new reality. Technology has sort of made 10 years of progress in some industries, for example, the education sector, where suddenly children all around the world are being educated on a screen. I think as we manage that balance, balance is probably the key word. So the first thing is to not hide behind a screen, because it can be easy after 5 months of doing it, just to do everything through a screen, because it's easy to distance yourself. It's much easier to distance yourself from an awkward discussion if you've got a screen between you, for sure. You don't feel each other, you don't really have to come close to each other, there's no real eye contact even though you're looking at each other through a screen. So the first is to make sure that you don't isolate yourself by using screens to make yourself further apart from people. The other side of that would be to understand that video screens particularly do allow you to empathize, to connect. And I write a lot about this. When you're on Zoom or Teams or whatever your platform is, you can still empathize with people. So all the skills we use in the real world, eye contact, shoulders being square to the person you're talking to, perhaps leaning in a little bit. I do it all the time on Zoom, not uncomfortably, I'm not in people's faces, but leaning in to show them
You're actually doing it now.
Am I? There you go. To show them that I'm interested, right? That I'm listening, that I see them, that I hear them, that I want to be in the room at that time. Because on a screen, it's even more obvious. If you look down on your phone, it's really obvious that you're not engaged. If we were in a meeting of 6 people in a room and someone picks up their phone, you probably wouldn't notice, because you've got lots of other sensorial parts of the room, the light, the sound, the air conditioning, whatever it is. On a screen, when someone's not listening, not connected with you, it's really obvious. Not to mention the fact that someone can screen grab it and then your disconnection is like set in a photo stone forever. So yeah, the second bit is to not use the screen as an excuse, but to actually realise that you can still drive empathy and understanding, personal connection. And we should, because as the world goes forward, the screens aren't going anywhere.
They're not going anywhere,
No.
You're absolutely right. And actually, there is one final question I wanted to ask you, just specifically to bring back the conversation full circle, I guess, to where we started when we talked about empathy and law, was to talk about legal tech. I just wanted to get your views on that and whether or not you see, and I'm sure you do, but I have to ask, do you see empathy as a key factor in, driving the success of legal tech solutions? And if so, what can developers do to kind of adopt a more empathetic approach to the creation of these solutions?
I think there's 2 answers. I think in the tech itself, technology is only ever as great as the people behind the tech, right? So the person or the people who are building that software or that platform. In the legal sphere, if we can have software developed, technological interventions, AI, whatever it is, that allows us to understand humanity better, that allows us to get deeper insight about people, scenarios, environments, whatever it is you're building your legal case around, I think there's great opportunity there. And we're seeing that in healthcare and in some other sort of public policy and those types of areas where technology is enabling deeper understanding of people. So for sure, there's a link there to understanding both our clients and our audiences, but also the environments we're working in or other legal practices. On the other side of that, for those developing or considering platforms in workflow management, admin management, processes, all those types of things, so the digitization of what you lawyers do every day with all of your paperwork, the more efficient those platforms become, arguably, the more time the human lawyer, the real person, has to connect with other real people.
Absolutely.
So if technology is interfering and engaging with formalizing and speeding up and making more efficient the administrative side of your role, some of those technical papers, those types of things, perhaps that gives the law firm in general more time to be focusing on the human connection and the people that are sitting in front of them or around them or in a board meeting or a court. So yeah, lots of opportunity, I think.
So I think the key takeaway there is really not to view technology negatively, because it has a lot of positive benefits and in some ways, like you said, can indirectly allow us to actually harness our empathy skills.
I think so. I hope so.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Mimi. Again, really appreciate you coming to talk about this topic.
So welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you everyone for watching.